Picture this. It's a perfect Saturday morning in Serenity Oaks, Florida, and you're sipping coffee when you spot the HOA president herself, Karen Voss, yanking your 8-year-old daughter fully clothed into the community pool like she's performing a drive-through exorcism, chanting about washing away the shadow of grief, while half the neighbors just stand there nodding like it's Sunday service and not straight-up kidnapping with chlorine. My name is Ethan Caldwell. That terrified little girl clinging to the ladder is my Emma. And Karen? She's the woman who turned our quiet cul-de-sac into her personal holy fiefdom, where community values means her values and every mailbox is basically a confession booth. What she didn't count on was the guy who'd spent 15 years auditing corrupt water districts for the State Environmental Board now living 3 houses down, because today her little baptismal spa was about to get inspected straight into oblivion. I didn't scream. I didn't sprint. I just walked through that squeaky pool gate, badge already out like a quiet promise, and let the morning sun glint off the state seal while Karen's fake smile froze mid-prayer. She's needed this cleansing for months, Ethan, she cooed, voice all sugar and scripture, palms still hovering over Emma's soaked shoulders. A child without a mother carries such darkness. The bylaws give the board discretion for moral emergencies. Moral emergencies. Right. Because nothing screams neighborly love like dunking a grieving kid in public water that hasn't passed county inspection in 2 years. I crouched, wrapped Emma in my towel and whispered, "We're going home, sweetheart." Her teeth chattered, but she didn't cry until we were halfway down the block. Behind us, Karen called out sweetly, "We only want what's best for her, Ethan. Don't let sorrow blind you to God's plan." God's plan apparently included a $250 fine for unauthorized emotional display that showed up in my mailbox before lunch. I grew up in places like this, cookie-cutter perfection where everyone waves but nobody really sees you. After my wife died, I moved us back to Serenity Oaks thinking the oak-shaded streets and community pool would heal Emma. That pool was where Sarah taught her to float, where we scattered rose petals the week after the funeral. I kept paying the ridiculous HOA dues just so Emma could still laugh in the same water her mom loved. Karen Voss saw that history and decided it was her altar. She wasn't enforcing rules. She was building a congregation with fines instead of collection plates. And today she'd used my daughter as the opening hymn. By Monday the notices started arriving like divine judgment, pink highlighter, Bible verses in the margins, the whole Karen starter pack. First it was my backyard clothesline. Visual blight and improper towel drying protocol. Then Emma's little painted wind chime with her mom's name. Unauthorized memorial signage disrupting neighborhood harmony. I'd mowed the lawn 3 days earlier, but apparently the grass was now spiritually unkempt. It wasn't about grass. It was about control. Karen had spent the last year quietly rewriting the game. Her monthly wellness circles replaced block parties. The newsletter went from roof color guidelines to reflections on righteous living. And the pool? That was ground zero for her unofficial baptisms. Parents whispered about kids being invited for special blessings. Nobody complained. Fines have a way of teaching silence. I sat on my porch that evening, Emma asleep inside, and watched Karen stroll past in her spotless white sneakers, clipboard tucked like a holy relic. She waved at the cul-de-sac moms like she was blessing livestock. That's when I realized I wasn't the first target, just the loudest. Mr. Ramirez next door had been fined for letting his 5-year-old grandson leave a tricycle on the driveway. Youth clutter violating spiritual order. Across the street, Mrs. Patel got cited for cultural disharmony after serving her famous curry at the last neighborhood cookout. Karen never said the quiet part out loud, but everyone heard it. Only certain families, certain beliefs, certain griefs were welcome in Serenity Oaks. She wasn't running an HOA, she was running a cult with better landscaping. I didn't yell at the next board meeting. I didn't write angry emails. Instead, I opened my laptop and started doing what I do best, following the paper trail. The original bylaws I'd saved from escrow were crystal clear. Any decision affecting minor residents required written parental consent and full board vote in open session. Karen's cleansing had neither. The pool maintenance logs? Missing for 6 quarters. The community enhancement budget line she used to buy prayer mats and scented candles? No receipts, no approvals. I called Sheriff Ramirez, no relation to my neighbor, just an old contact from my auditing days. He listened, grunted once and said, "I'll swing by tomorrow." Quietly. By sunrise his cruiser was parked in my driveway like a polite middle finger to Karen's kingdom. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Karen suddenly decided today was a great day to power walk in the opposite direction. That's when Megan, the mousy HOA secretary who'd never issued a single violation, showed up on my porch clutching a folder like it was radioactive. "I saw the cruiser," she whispered. "I can't do this anymore." Inside were 6 months of deleted emails, secret meeting notes, and a voice recording from a closed-door session where Karen literally said, "If kindness doesn't cleanse them, we pressure the family unit." Megan's hand shook as she handed it over. She's planning a vote next week to make spiritual alignment a requirement for pool access. Your name is at the top of the watch list. I smiled for the first time in days. Good. Let her call the meeting. We'll bring the receipts. The petty fines kept coming, gold foil envelopes now, delivered by Karen's teenage youth outreach minions like they were dropping off Holy Communion. Emma was banned from all shared amenities pending behavioral review. The letter suggested I consider alternative housing more suitable to a child's moral development. Blackmail dressed in cursive. I added it to the growing pile on my kitchen table. Mr. Ramirez knocked that night, eyes tired. She just told my grandson he can't use the pool unless he attends her values workshop. 3 other families got the same letter. I handed him a copy of the bylaws. Then we make her regret ever opening that pool gate. 2 days later the county environmental health inspector pulled up in an unmarked sedan. My old colleague Kira, no fanfare, just a clipboard and a test kit. Karen materialized at the pool like a bad ghost, white linen glowing. "This is private property," she sniffed. Kira didn't even look up from her water sample. HOA dues fund it and it serves 50+ households. That makes it public under Code 29A. Last inspection was 2 years ago. Your logs. Karen's smile cracked. They're in the board archives. Then you have 24 hours or I shut you down. Kira snapped a photo of the prayer mat under the gazebo. Karen aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I didn't say a word. I just watched her empire start leaking like the pool filter she'd never maintained. By Monday the county violation notice was taped to the gate in bold red letters. Karen tried to rip it down at dawn, but Megan beat her to it and sent me the photo with one word. Posted. The fear flipped. Suddenly Karen's morning walks looked more like retreats. The sermons in the newsletter stopped. But tyrants don't surrender, they double down. The next envelope was thicker. A 12-page community behavioral impact assessment, focused entirely on Emma. Observed emotional instability, absence of proper maternal spiritual guidance, recommendation for relocation to a more aligned environment. And signed, but the font was Karen's. The cruelty was Karen's. The mistake was thinking I'd stay quiet. Called Sheriff Ramirez again. You're not the only one, he said. 4 families got the same packet. Pattern of targeted coercion. That's prosecutable. Megan dropped off another flash drive that night. The full audio where Karen bragged about using discretionary funds for sanctification supplies. Mr. Ramirez brought handwritten ledger copies Gregory, the treasurer, had secretly copied before he grew a conscience. We built the file we called Glass Oak, every violation, every illegal transfer, every recorded threat, cross-referenced and time-stamped. The kind of evidence that doesn't just win arguments, it ends careers. The mandatory community alignment meeting was called for Friday night at the clubhouse. Karen's flyer promised harmony through shared values. We printed 7-page summaries, quotes, screenshots, audio transcripts, and waited. Residents trickled in, faces tight. Karen arrived late in her signature white suit, podium already decorated with fresh flowers like it was her coronation. She tapped the mic. Tonight we vote on protocols to protect our children from external influences. I stood. The room went dead silent. Megan took the mic first, voice steady for the first time in years. As secretary, I've kept every record. What you're about to see comes straight from our own files. We passed the packets row by row. Gasps rippled as people read Karen's own words. Pressure the family unit. Limited amenity access until harmonious norms are restored. When Megan played the 30-second audio clip of Karen saying those exact lines, the room didn't explode, it froze. Karen's mouth opened, closed, opened again like a fish on dry land. "This is taken out of context," she stammered. I stepped forward, calm as Sunday morning. "Context is the part where you dunked my daughter without my consent in water that's now under county shutdown order. Context is the thousands in misused HOA funds buying your prayer candles while kids get fined for existing. Context is over. No one voted. The meeting simply dissolved. People stood and left without a word, folders clutched like shields. Karen floated out the side door, white suit suddenly looking cheap under the fluorescent lights. Mr. Ramirez was the first to clap, slow, deliberate. Then another. Then the whole room. Not cheers. Just the sound of people remembering they still had spines. The emergency board session was moved to the high school gym, neutral ground, bigger crowd, no stage for Karen to hide behind. She showed up in navy instead of white, blazer buttoned like armor, but her hands still trembled when she set her purse down. Megan ran the sign-in table like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. Sheriff Ramirez arrived in full uniform, handed the moderator a thick folder, then took a seat in the back where everyone could see him. Gregory, the treasurer, cleared his throat and made the motion. Suspend all privileges for President Voss pending county investigation. Megan seconded before Karen could even open her mouth. The vote wasn't close. Yes after yes after yes. Even her two loyalists folded when the audio played again over the gym speakers. The county compliance officer read the report like it was a death sentence delivered politely. Sanitation violations, insufficient chlorination, no testing logs, unauthorized ritual materials stored poolside. Budget irregularities. Over $14,000 reallocated without board approval to unlisted wellness initiatives. Multiple documented instances of psychological coercion targeting minor residents. Each line landed heavier than the last. Karen sat perfectly still, chin high, but her eyes had the vacant look of someone watching her reflection crack in real time. When public comment opened, I stood once more. "Consent isn't optional," I said quietly. "Not for our kids, not when it's wearing a cross and carrying a clipboard. That pool wasn't your church. It was our kids' safe place. Until you decided safe wasn't enough. You needed pure." I looked at every parent in the room. We let fear run this neighborhood long enough. Today it ends. The gym didn't cheer. It exhaled, years of swallowed words finally released into the air. Karen left through the side door alone. No dramatic speech. No final Bible verse. Just the soft click of heels on linoleum and the knowledge that every single person in that room now knew exactly who she was. 2 days later, the county crew arrived at dawn to drain the pool. Emma and I watched from the sidewalk, her small hand in mine. The water gurgled down the street drain in muddy blue streams, taking Karen's blessings with it. "Will they fill it again?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. "But only when the rules belong to all of us again." She nodded like she understood that water was never the real issue. Megan stepped up as interim board chair the next week. The petition to restructure the entire HOA passed unanimously. They scrubbed the bulletin board clean of scripture and replaced it with bake sale flyers and babysitter ads. The gazebo prayer mat disappeared. Gregory resigned quietly, but not before leaving one last thumb drive with the complete financial trail. Karen's house went on the market 3 weeks later. Sold in 4 days to a retired couple from Ohio who just wanted quiet. Rumor says she moved 3 counties over to a 55-plus community where nobody knows her name. I don't track her. Some ghosts you let rest. The new plaque on the pool gate went up last month. Sarah's Garden Pool. I didn't ask for it. Megan proposed it, Mr. Ramirez seconded, and the vote was instant. When I saw my wife's name bolted to the fence in brushed metal, I stood there a long time feeling the breeze carry something that almost sounded like her humming. Emma laughed again yesterday, real loud, unafraid, while testing the new water. The rules are back, but they're just rules now. No sermons. No threats. Just neighbors who finally remembered they're allowed to say no. I still sit on the porch swing some evenings, Emma curled up with her book, bare feet swinging. Neighbors stop by now not to complain but to thank me, to share their own stories, to ask how to push back when power forgets its place. I tell them the same thing every time. You don't need to scream. You just need to know where the real rules live, and be willing to read them out loud. Because empires built on fear and fines always look unbreakable until someone brings the right paperwork. The neighborhood didn't change overnight, but the silence did. Mailbox conversations got longer. Kids rode bikes without glancing over their shoulders. The pool reopened last weekend with a proper county certificate framed at the gate, and a new sign that reads, "All families welcome. No exceptions." Emma cannonballed in yesterday and came up grinning, water streaming off her face like the last traces of fear. I watched from the lounge chair and felt something settle in my chest that had been tight for months. Sheriff Ramirez still calls occasionally, not as law enforcement, just as a guy checking on a friend. "Emma's sleeping better?" he asks. "Yeah," I tell him. "Swing doesn't creak anymore either." He chuckles. "Good. That's how you know the house is finally yours again." Sometimes I walk past Karen's old house on my evening run. New owners planted sunflowers where she used to keep her sacred meditation garden. The flowers are loud and bright and completely against every old guideline she ever wrote. I smile every single time. Here's the part nobody talks about in HOA stories. The real victory isn't the takedown. It's the morning after, when you realize the fear is gone, and the neighborhood actually feels like home again. Karen thought she owned the rules. Turns out the rules belonged to us the whole time. We just needed one dad with a badge and a folder full of truth to remind everyone. So tell me in the comments, was Karen really just a concerned neighbor trying to guide the community like she claimed? Or was she the one who turned a quiet suburb into her own little cult? Was it her moral stewardship, or my paperwork that finally broke the cycle? Drop your verdict below. Who was truly wrong here? Because I still can't decide if I feel sorry for her, or just really satisfied. If you've ever fought your own HOA Karen, share it. Smash subscribe for more stories where the little guy wins, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay loud, stay legal, and never let them drown your kid in chlorine and hypocrisy.